Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a very interesting conversation in many ways, and I have to say, as somebody who has gone most of my life trying to make sure that I was elected for things on the basis of merit and not on the basis of where my parents were born or the color of my skin or the language that I may speak at home, I think it's really important that we frame the conversation in a way that that actually reminds people that the initial thinking around EDI was that we would ensure that we were getting the best of the best, and that in that we ensured that there were people that reflected the diversity of the country, not that you would hire people or put someone into a role because they checked off a box. And so I want to start, Professor Worson, with asking you, your colleagues who may be considered diversity hires, do you think they produce less good scholarship than you?
I don't think so. I don't know that there would be any diversity hires that I would know of at this point. We've hired some, but in my department or people in my area, I'm not aware of any.
You would not say that, or would you say, I guess I want to make sure I don't put words in your mouth, would you say that the application of EDI policy has led to less qualified people hired, producing less good research?
That would be a logical conclusion.
Your view?
Yes, I think because if you reduce the applicant pool, necessarily.
Have you seen hires who are diversity hires around you or in the world in which you operate that have produced less good scholarship? And if so, can you give me an example?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't
okay.
give you an example.
One of the things that I'm quite concerned about is that we should not be putting ourselves in a situation where anyone should think that less good research is being done, that science is somehow diminished as a result of people being hired who reflect diverse communities or populations. Would you say that that is what is happening?
Yes, if you are hiring not for merit, right? If you're hiring, yeah.
You've just told me that you have not seen any examples where the quality of the work has been diminished as a result of EDI. So that's what I'm trying to understand. You've just said that
percent at a time.
You've just said that you have not seen examples where the quality of research is poorer by so-called diversity hires. But then you're saying that scholarship is diminished. So I guess I'm curious about how you square that circle.
Oh, just as I mentioned, if you reduce the applicant pool, so it's a statistical thing. If you have 100 applicants, and in our case go down to less than one, we didn't have any applicants. Are you going to get more applicants? Is it likely, probabilistically, to get better applicants from 100 or one? It's a simple.
So I guess the question,
hard.
I would go back to my original question then. Is the issue the principle of EDI or is it the application of EDI in the current context?
I mean, the principle.
So the principle that we should broaden the pool as much as possible to have the most qualified people apply is problematic?
No, I like that, but that's not.
So
EDI.
that was the intention of EDI when in its existing framing.
I don't know if that's true.
So there's a study done by Northwestern University which looked at 90 studies across a number of countries that involved 174,000 applicants in academia to jobs and faculty in a number of Western countries. When names of racialized people or criteria that were able to assess diversity were put into the applications, applicants of color had to apply to 50% more jobs on the basis of equal credentials than non-diverse populations. When the study was, when the names were altered, the field was also equalized in terms of people being now, people of color now seeing that they were being called back at the same rate as people whose names were not racialized. Do you think that's a concern that we should be thinking about or looking at?
Sure, I suppose. I haven't seen this study, but I will say that's sure. But I know that studies like this. There's a very famous one with respect to applicants for a lab technician, where they used different names. I think it was more along the lines of female versus male, and they showed or claimed to show that women were discriminated against.
5 minutes. It was a 5 minute.
She said it was a 6-minute round.
No,
Okay,
it was a
sorry.
5 minute.
Okay, apologize.
So we will now proceed to MP Blanchet-Jonker for 2.5 minutes. Please go ahead.
Et, Madame la Présidente, prochaine question pour
Thank you, Madam Chair. In an article that you published on the 11th of September, 55% of research chairs are inaccessible to white men, whereas the 33% for racialized individuals. So we're making some fairly heavy efforts to get the right color into the position.
The CRC Chairs program you're referring to has, again, it's really designed, there are tables that have quotas based on race, sex, a whole bunch of different factors, and there really seems to be no brakes on this process. I think in that case that you mentioned, I believe the target by 2029 was 22% racialized, which means non-white. That stands currently at 32%, I believe. A year or two ago, it was maybe 29. It just keeps going up. And I still see positions that are exclusionary of white men. Maybe you have an out if you claim some sexual difference or some queer identity, but really, it continues. This discriminatory exclusion continues.
Merci de confirmer tout ça. Professeur Kamapati.
Thank you, Professor Kamapati. Your opinion has been published widely, and you refused a grant when your team didn't have sufficient diversity. Do you think that they're less excellent because they're less diversified?
I'm happy to answer this question. Merci beaucoup for asking it. And to the broad question, I can say with absolute certainty, the practice of DEI ruins science, doesn't make it a little bit worse. It destroys competence and capability, and you take away positions from the more competent and you give it to the less competent or to the incompetent. In sports, you never give positions based upon DEI. Why? Because you'll lose a game. And the game that we're trying to win here is the advancement of human civilization through science. It happens by the best people who are absolutely committed. My best PhD student was a white woman who's Swiss, and she's mini-me, and she's a Swiss woman. So it doesn't matter. She was the best person, and now she's a professor in Germany. But I've also seen women be given positions for which no men are allowed, and they're clearly less qualified. They got tenure and so forth, where they're clearly less qualified.
Yeah, please. Sorry for interrupting. Time is up.
Madam Chair. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Horstman, if an institution recognizes the rich, diverse makeup of the Canadian population and the contribution of these communities to our history and the Canadian way of life, is that problematic?
I don't really understand what that means to acknowledge a rich.
The value of the organization to embrace diversity, is that problematic?
Or if we're talking about a university, I think it is. I think a university should have a very clearly defined mandate. It's about pursuing knowledge, pursuing truth. I mean, why do you have to embrace political acknowledgements of different ethnic groups in your country? I mean, I don't think that's a particularly important thing for a university to do. And as we can see, it can move you off mission.
Dr. Kambathi, your thoughts on that?
Yes, I actually have a prepared statement because I anticipated this. Wonderful question. Point 3, my final point, stop social engineering in science. Science is not activism. Scientists are trained to test hypotheses and to discover, not to redistribute privilege. Whether that should even happen is another question. We're not communists, are we? Burdening research and ideological mandates distracts from discovery, erodes public trust. If science is left free, it benefits all of humanity, and these benefits will naturally flow to all people.
Would it surprise either of you that the Conservative Party's constitution recognizes the rich, diverse makeup of the Canadian population and the contribution of these communities to our history and the Canadian way of life, as a statement?
Would it surprise me? Not in the least, because I think in politics you can talk about diversity, and in teaching you can talk about diversity, maybe in police service, because you interact with humans. In science, no, I mean, maybe some people who interact with humans, I don't. And all the people in my field, we're all machine people. Even the women are machine people. Everyone's a machine person. There's no person. So we're just there to do the work.
Is there interaction with humans?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, all the participants. My question is to you, Dr. Horstman. I would love to mention your recent article, Woke Hermit Kingdom, Canada Doubles Down on EDI, as you mentioned. So my question is, you argue many EDI practices are ineffective or even harmful. But do you explore under what conditions or designs EDI has succeeded?
Well, what I think I need to explain something here. I think it's important to talk about what's called the Mott and Bailey tactic. So with respect to EDI, we see a lot of this. So as I've experienced and demonstrated today, EDI generally involves sweeping programs of racial discrimination, compelled speech, censorship. But when people start to complain about it and it comes under fire, what happens is that the EDI advocates retreat to positions like, well, it's just about making sure that we have good experimental design so that seatbelts are designed accounting for women. That's got nothing to do with EDI. That has long been good experimental practice, and that's why you just have to have lots of rigor, review, contestation of different ideas so that you can seek out and find error and remove it. So I don't know of any cases where EDI has been beneficial.
Over these two past committee meetings, we have heard from various professionals and scholars of how beneficial EDI has been at ensuring all Canadians are on a fair playing field. Throughout your time in academia, what possible negative consequences over EDI have you witnessed?
Negative consequences of EDI have been legion. I mean, I expressed some of them there, but I can provide more. For example, my department was awarded what's called an Inclusive Excellence Program. Now, this is an Orwellian term that just means we're going to restrict it to certain limited groups. It's not including, it's excluding, and you're limiting the applicant pool severely. So here's what happened. Our university decided that in the wake of 2021, they wanted to hire 6 black scholars and 6 Indigenous scholars. Our department was awarded one of the positions for an Indigenous scholar. Upon hearing this, a colleague of mine from outside the department related to me that they knew of a really good postdoc in the United States who was black, and it would be really good to get this person to apply. Of course, I had to tell my colleague that this person is excluded because they have the wrong skin color. This is the in and out daily experience of EDI policies. They're discriminatory, exclusionary, and they are, I see no good in them. They're dark.